Hey Saber fans, welcome back. This is Adam from Force Sabers. So I wanted to kind of show off my Ultrasabers Manticore I just did for myself. This is a personal build that I found and redid the other day. So I wanted to go over that a little bit, but then I also wanted to kind of talk about, uh, I've been asked questions of why I do weathering on my sabers and the reasoning behind it. So I just wanted to kind of go over that briefly. And I think it's kind of important too, because it really tells a true story of making a lightsaber unique. And it's kind of the way I think when I build my sabers. And if you're thinking about doing your own or making it custom, then maybe it's a way to kind of get you started. So like I said, this is the Ultrasabers Manticore. It probably is my favorite saber that they make. I just love the whole design of it. But as you know, I just can't keep that standard saber. I like to make it my own. So like this one, for example, is all chrome. When I got it, I know they make another version where this grip area is black, but my version was all chrome. Not sure if they do a different kind of emitter, but I pretty much think this is the kind of like that standard design for it. But as you can see, it really doesn't look like your standard Manticore, because I kind of put all these touches, what I felt was the feeling I got from it and what I kind of wanted to do with it. So this is what I came out with. As you can see, I'm more of I lean towards the Jedi feel of it, so I went to go with a blue and black theme with it, and that's what I kind of came up with. But the reasoning I do weathering and different paint schemes with my sabers is when I'm initially looking at a saber and deciding how I kind of want to do it. I get a feeling like, do I want to go more towards the Jedi or a Sith side or something in between? So that determines the paint I do and the amount of damage and weathering I do to it. And I do that because I want to create a story behind it. I think creating a story behind your sabers really makes it unique to you. And when you're showing other people, you can kind of tell that story as well. And it just becomes, I think, more special than just something that you buy and it's the same thing that everybody else has. This makes it, even if you just do a little bit to it just to kind of change it up, it creates that story that now becomes yours and nobody else's. So that's when I'm looking at the sabers and how to do it, that's what I think of. And kind of the perfect example too is that my last one I just did, Scott bought it, and I'll actually put a link to his channel down below in the description, because he does some great reviews of a whole multitude of sabers, from Ultrasabers to Saber Forge to AliExpress, or he does a whole bunch, and he does a great job because they're real straightforward in what he thinks of it. And the last saber that I built, he bought, and when I was creating the story for it, it was a gold and black paint job. I really wanted a ton of weathering with it, and so when he received it, he actually put a name to it, and he called it Terminus, and he actually created a voice for it as well. So he took this story and created his own story, which I think is really, truly awesome. And that's what I believe you really get a feeling for a saber. It really becomes yours then, is when you create your own storyline. So when I was looking at my Manticore here, I wanted to kind of create a storyline for mine too. So this is the story that I kind of came up with in my head. So I wanted this blue and black paint scheme that I've done on my other Ultrasabers. But I wanted to do this one just a slightly different. So you can see up here, it's a little more black on top. And I put this weathering in because I was thinking that it was getting, when a saber's all nice and clean and shiny, yeah, it looks great and stuff like that, but it doesn't have any lineage to it, and that's just the way I look at it. I like to show how it's been passed down over ages, how it's been, I don't know, buried someplace for a long time and now it's been discovered, whatever story it may be. I like to kind of show that in my saber. So when I was thinking of this, I wanted to have a little, not so much weathering and damage up top, but I wanted to get some scraping in there and stuff like that where it's been used and chipped away over time. So I took the Dremel and went in there and just cut these little grooves and stuff like that. Sanded away the black to show the blue underneath. You have your blade retention up here. And then coming down a little bit into the emitter, I have some more damage here. And I was thinking too, when I was creating it, I wanted this damage to come on an angle and to kind of represent that coming all the way down too, as you can see how it follows a course of lines here. So I really like the way the windows are in this, so I didn't want to mess with them too much. And I'm kind of explaining this too in case you ever thought about doing your own sabers and how to weather them and paint them and stuff like that. This is just kind of my feeling and how I do it, but maybe it'll help you to kind of create your idea as well. So I went back in here with the Dremel. I like to create this chrome effect within the paint. I think it just makes it more pop more. And then I sand this all down too, because that's one of the things I don't like is it's kind of a common thing, not to knock another company, but they keep these sharp edges. So when you're grabbing it and gripping it in areas, you get some sharp ridges and stuff like that. So I always try to sand these down. Anytime I create this damage, I try to sand it down with some sandpaper and stuff like that and kind of soften it up as well. So you can see down here too. So it goes from this black up here to the blue, back to the blue again, and then it transitions to the gold. So I wanted this transition section right here from this blue to this gold, because I was thinking that as the saber heated up over time, it would get heated around this area, so it would change the color of that metal to just something other than blue to create a different transition effect. So I thought that came out pretty neat. I haven't done that before, but you can see this gold just in the window section here. I went to throw a little bit of leather down here. So I had this scrap leather sitting around, another great thing to kind of keep. Created a couple scratches here in the back. This leather is great. It already has this unique design already in there, but cut it down and it fit perfectly. It actually sits pretty flush in here as well, so I thought that was kind of fitting. Continuing down, you have more of the damage, not cut too deep, but like I said, just kind of shows that, you know, how it's been beat up over time and used and fought battles with. So of course you have to, any Ultra Saber, you have to have that retention screw for the LED. So that's tapped and drilled there. And then with this one too, it actually has a nice deep blade retention, which is always great to have. So the LED sits right around this area, so you have all this great depth. Switch. So this is the guarded switch, that the standard setup that usually Ultra Sabers comes with. So I actually left this, and I like this a lot better. Usually I drill it out so I can fit that 16mm switch in here, but I like to use these little double tactile switches. So if you leave that and you kind of drill it out a little bit, you can have this switch hidden and almost flush in there. Another idea for you. A little more damage around the switch. A couple of cuts. So I wanted a grip section on here, because it breaks up the whole design and kind of blends it together a little bit more. I wanted the color brown with some more weathering, because this would be the grip area that you would do. And if you're familiar with Ultra Sabers, their hilts are a little bit thicker, as this one is. And I think it actually fits with this overall design as a thicker hilt. That's actually why it's one of my favorite ones. So I went with, this is actually a thin cotton, because I've tried leather wraps like this in the grip areas before on these, and it just comes out way too thick. It's already a thick saber as it is, and so I didn't want to do that. I have a couple other things I usually do with wraps, but I wanted to try something different. So this is actually a cotton type thread, so it's nice and thin. And I used a whipping knot to hold it all together. That's usually a type of knot that when you wrap it and you pull it tight, it pulls everything together. It's usually used on like axe handles. You'll see it in knives and stuff like that too. So I thought it was perfect with this. And then once I weathered it as well, it really it stuck everything together. So this is not going anywhere. And also too, with the handle and grip area, there's ridges that come up here. So with this, the cotton wrap, it actually gets in these ridges too. So it actually came out perfect. Still keeps it thin. You can see how it just doesn't add a whole lot of more, overall size to it. And you can see the pretty big difference between the two. This is pretty white. So with a little bit of paint and shoe polish, you get some brown, some black in there, and it really weathers it up to make it dirty and fits in much better. So definitely going to be using that in the future. Drilled a hole for a cover tech, so I wanted a cover tech on this one. Once again, I think it fits with the design, and then of course I put it on the back side, so when it hangs you'll have the switch and everything here on the side. Some more scrapes. Also did these on an angle, so think about your cuts when you're doing them. And also too, always try to do, when I do this, the damage, when I try to scrape this away, I try to keep the damage in the general area of where the actual damage is. So I try to bring out this blue behind it, so it's not just, it fits with the overall design. Not on somewhere you just see it's just weathered kind of all over the place and doesn't really fit where the damage goes. So this is not the standard pommel that comes with the Manticore. This is actually the standard one. This is the low profile one that came with it. It's an okay pommel, not a huge fan of that one, but obviously still can be used. And I also wanted to add a little more length to it, so this gives it a little bit more. This is from the Custom Saber shop. They fit perfectly with these. So did some weathering with that. And I think that fits great with it. Also down here too, this has a Crystal Focus 10 soundboard in here. Get this to focus. There you go. So I have to actually have the retention screw hidden here as a full chassis like I've been doing on the other Ultrasabers. With kill key, recharge port, and all that, so you have access to the SD card. So just like my other builds that I've shown, it comes with the 28mm speaker that I've done with this. And then this allows me to slide the chassis down where the speaker is pretty much right at the pommel, so you get it nice and loud too. So I thought that was pretty good. Kind of hidden right in there in the damage, you don't even see it. So you just screw the pommel on and then tighten that retention screw, and then as you can see, with everything locked in, no wiggle, no nothing. So that's what you want to hear when you have your sabers. You shouldn't have anything wiggling around when you're swinging it. And so this one, with those additional retention screws, it locks everything in place. So let's fire it up here real fast. I have a bunch of fonts on here. I don't think I need to go through them or anything like that, but just so you can see it. So you got the cool windows. CFX, if you're not familiar. Get your smooth swing. It's Obi-Wan inspired font. Now I have a couple different blade profiles on here. This is I prefer the in-hilt RGB LEDs over NeoPixels. You don't have to worry about it breaking as far as the blade and all the solder joints and stuff, and the pogo pins and everything. I just kind of prefer the in-hilt LEDs over it. I always like how you get the cool shine through too. You know, there's ways around that, but that's just kind of what I like. It's my preference. So I love how these windows, I think it just looks great. Let's fire up another one here. Let's see.
Soundbank selection.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Hoth is a cool one if you haven't heard that font yet.
Only a Sith.
Has some cool sounds in the background. Now this one has a heavier flicker, as you can see. That is a profile I set up on this one. You can change the flicker effects on it, make it look more unstable, or more of a steady blade. This is a pretty cool font though. Also smooth swing. And we'll do one more.
Soundbank selection.
This is General Kenobi.
Jedi, prepare for defeat. Lord Vader. Young Red.
Like. Like.
Young Lord Vader. Jedi, prepare.
This is General Kenobi. Only a Sith.
Cyber assassin.
Frozen wind.
Ancient shadow.
Forget what I have on here. Ghostbusters? Yeah, let's throw that up. Oh, you know what?
Days of long ago.
That's right. I forgot I loaded my Voltron font on here.
Comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe.
So this is a font I made a while back. Haven't made the saber for it yet, but it's a definitely have to get around to making this saber though. So I forgot I even had that one on there. So anyway, there you go. That is my custom Manticore. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope I gave you a couple ideas too with Saber and how to kind of customize it and make it your own story. So as always, check back. Lots of cool sabers. Please leave a comment below if you like this. Have any other ideas you'd like to share. Always love to hear them. But as always, take care and God bless.